Welcome to the Kentucky Watershed Academy. I'm Steve Evans with the Kentucky Water Resources Research Institute, and in this activity we're going to be looking at WikiWatershed to see how you can familiarize yourself with this tool that gives you a lot of information about the landscape of your watershed. WikiWatershed is an initiative of the Strode Water Research Center in Pennsylvania. The Strode Water Research Center seeks to advance knowledge and stewardship of freshwater systems through global research, education, water restoration. They provide a wide selection of different educational resources on their website, including some excellent tools on macroinvertebrate identification. The Model My Watershed or WikiWatershed tool is a watershed modeling app that enables you to look at land use, model stormwater runoff, and compare how different conservation and development scenarios could modify that runoff and water quality. In order to access this tool, please go to wikiwatershed.org and you'll look down on the screen at the Model My Watershed tool. Click the Launch the App button to begin. This will open an initial page that lists three basic options within the program. The first option is where we're going to be spending most of the time in this presentation, the Select Area and Analyze. This provides quick summaries of data layers and information about land use within a watershed. The second, Monitoring My Watershed, allows you to search for water quality data from various national databases or to share your own data. And the third, Model My Watershed, utilizes models to compare impacts of different conservation and development scenarios on water quality. We'll just take a brief look at that later. So to get started, we're going to go to the top right corner and enter our location of interest in the search box, and then click the magnifying glass on the right side to zoom to the location. For the purposes of this tutorial, we selected Paint Lick, Kentucky. After zooming in to the correct location, click on the Get Started button. For this example, we're going to delineate a watershed of interest within the Paint Lick area. In the Layers box at the lower left-hand corner of the map, click on the layer Continental US Medium Resolution Stream Network. This will allow the streams to show up on the map in blue. Then on the left side of the screen, click the Delineate Watersheds tab and select Continental US Medium Resolution at the menu that comes up. Now we will click on the most downstream point of the stream or its confluence with the receiving body to see the contributing watershed area. This particular tributary or Paint Lick Creek is called Lowell Branch. Here you can see the contributing watershed for Lowell Branch. We want to draw your attention to the three tabs on the left side that say Analyze, Monitor, and Model. They correspond to the three functions of the program we've already mentioned. We will focus on the Analyze function. The first tab lists the stream network statistics, including the stream order lengths and the mean channel slopes. It also includes stream lengths in agricultural and non-agricultural areas, as summarized in the highlighted area at the bottom. Also note that the overall watershed area is shown at the top of the display. This particular watershed is 16 square kilometers. In the Layers box at the lower left-hand portion of the map, select the NLCD coverage to change the map to display land cover. You can visualize the land cover in one or two ways. You could turn on the layer on and off on the top left of the data summary box or in that layer coverages grid. Also note that next to each of the layers in the Layers menu is a gray letter I inside a circle. This will display the legend for that layer. Click on the Land tab under Analyze to see the land cover distribution statistics for your selected watershed. You can sort the percentage cover from highest to lowest to see which land type covers are dominant in your watershed and the area they encompass. This watershed is overwhelmingly used for pasture and hay, as shown by the yellow color. Next, select the Soil tab and change the layer coverage to Hydrologic soil groups. In this example, the soils have mainly moderate or slow infiltration rates, with a few areas of very slow infiltration, that's the dark brown, in the bottomland valleys. By clicking on the Terrain tab, you can see the elevation levels and the slope percentages in the watershed to the left side. You can also view separate layer coverages for elevation and slope. The slope coverage uses different shades and is more informative than the elevation coverage, with the steeper areas being shown in orange and the flatter areas in white. Click on the Climate tab to see monthly mean precipitation and temperature values for your watershed. You can select precipitation and temperature coverages as well, and then select individual months. However, this seems to have limited value. Values are depicted as different colors, but the monthly differences are not obvious in the map format since you can only view 1 month at a time. The next tab for point sources has limited functionality for Kentucky, but remember you can always access the US EPA's ECHO database for NPDES permit information, and that has lots of info. That was covered in Module 1 of the Kentucky Watershed Academy. The next function for animals or livestock does not come with an associated map coverage, but it's a very helpful reference. Using the USDA uh, National Agricultural Statistics Service to generate estimates of various numbers of livestock types in the area. And this is very helpful for generating potential loading rates from these animals that could be entering into the water bodies. One of the things you can also do is refer back to the land coverage information, for, in this case, to look at pasture area, and you can come up with some stocking rates. In this case, we know there's 439 cows. We know the pasture area is a little over 12 miles. We can divide the two. We can see that there's an average of 36 cows per kilometer that we can use for maybe an individual farm or something like that, that type of estimate. The protected lands layer coverage shows national or recreational areas as well as conservation and ag easements. There were none of those in our chosen watershed, but you can see several in the surrounding areas. The Pinnacles hiking area is in the green to the east of Berea. The final tab under the analysis column is water quality, but this is not for use in Kentucky. It's strictly linked to the Delaware River Basin up in the eastern portion of the country, and so lucky them, but it's not yet for us. Okay, so that kind of walks us through some of the analyze information. And remember that we started off in the beginning just analyzing the delineation of a watershed based on a point. But there are other ways that we can get to that same information. Back on that initial page, rather than picking a point, we can try to generate a watershed based on a boundary. We can pick a HUC 12 level and turn on those layers and visualize it in that way. There's also school codes or county lines as well as congressional district. So to show this, in this example, we're going to pick the Paint Lick HUC 12 watershed area in the red outline. So if you click on the HUC 12 selection, these delineations show up in the pink, and you can scroll over to see the HUC names. Then click on the HUC that contains your area of interest, and the same details will be calculated for that HUC area. Here you can see the HUC 12 for the lower Paint Lick watershed is shown along with some of its statistics. There are also several different Basemap options that can be chosen within the layers box. You can choose the satellite view with or without labeled roads, as well as terrain and street views. For most of this presentation, we've been looking at the Analyze tab and the information associated with that. But I want to briefly just kind of give you an idea of the information that's under the Model portion of the tab. In this case, we got here by selecting Model, and then we chose the Site Storm Model option. And so it brings up this screen. You can see to the top right, there's an option to change amount of precipitation. That's that adjustable slider. And that will change the effects on the left-hand side of the screen for runoff, infiltration, and evapotranspiration. This model simulates a hypothetical 24-hour storm using a hybrid of 3 different model algorithms. It's designed primarily for use with smaller and more developed areas. I also want to just draw briefly your attention. There's a link at the bottom left-hand side that says Runoff Simulation. We're going to come back to that in just a minute, but I want to note the presence of that there. Okay, so returning to our modeling app, you can see on the one hand you had runoff at the top of the column on the left-handed side, but then there's also a water quality tab. So by clicking that, you can see an estimate of the total suspended solids, total nitrogen, and total phosphorus that may be contributed from the watershed area. So it's very nice to have some estimated loads that are breakdown based on the equations that are programmed in. So hopefully that just gives you a real quick glimpse of some of the modeling components of this program. We don't have time to get into all of it, but I did want to show you, say, hey, there's some really great information here. How can I export it from this program and use it in other contexts? Well, you can see, you can go up to the on that left-hand side at the top corner, you can choose the shapefile or a GeoJSON value, and that allows you to download or to export this data. You can see also at the bottom left-hand side where it says download this file. So you can export either the spreadsheets or the shapefiles for use in other programs. And the maps can be clipped and saved in various formats as well. The share feature, this program function allows you to share and to save a project, so you can send it out to others through a direct link. If you want to say, hey, look it over at this, you can just share the link with them. Want to mention just one other item in this brief tutorial, and that's the Runoff Simulation tool. I noted that how you can link over there to it. It's also on the WikiWatershed main page. But this tool is not watershed specific, but it can be used as a great educational type visual tool. You can choose different land cover and soil types, and then pick the amount of precipitation, so a 24-hour storm event, and adjust that. It allows a very quick visualization of how much evapotranspiration, runoff, and infiltration would occur with these different scenarios. So here, this is a low development scenario with high infiltration soils, and you can see that infiltration is 3 times the runoff rate. So that's a fun tool to play around with. I hope that this has given you a little bit of an introduction about the WikiWatershed tool, and you can check it out for your watershed of interest. Thank you.